Good morning, my gorgeous friends on the internet. It's Crystal here, and in today's episode, actually, we're going to start a whole series on YouTube here. So if you are the developer or whatever, leave. I'm joking. Don't leave, because this is for you and for every beginner designer. So this is a full series that's going to teach you typography, it's going to teach you color, it's going to teach you how to create super nice designs from scratch. All right, so this episode, again, it applies to every new designer out there. It applies to developers that make terrible looking websites, including me. Yeah, so in today's episode, we're gonna start with typography, so typing stuff, make that look pretty and nice, and then we're gonna move on from there. We're gonna explore color and some other fun stuff. And yeah, without further ado, let's get going. Okay, so let's get going. What I'm gonna do is open up Figma here, so you can open it up as well, or Adobe XD, or all the other good stuff. What we're gonna do is create a design in like kind of the lazy way, like most people do, and even I do sometimes. And I'm gonna just throw it together. It's gonna be really simple. And then I'm gonna talk about super important concepts that are gonna make it look much, much better. Okay, so I named this bad here on purpose because it's naughty, like me sometimes, but that's off screen, you cannot see it. Okay, moving on. So we have a frame here. I just created the frame up here and added 1080p. Okay, that's it. So I've been thinking about what I'm gonna put together here. I just thought, let's do a simple like traveling website with pretty illustrations, something super simple that doesn't really take any effort. Okay, because that's not the point of this episode. So I found some on YouTube, not on YouTube, on Google. Look at the nice pictures. So I stole them. So thank you very much. Let me give credit because it's important. So here we go. We have nature, multiple owners. Okay, there we go. So Febin and Fire Art Studio. Nice, good stuff. Okay, so let's do, I don't know, we're gonna do a simple title. I'm gonna go here to the text. We're gonna name this Travelly or something, Travelly. And we're not gonna focus on creating a super fancy logo, but we're just gonna add Travelly in here. Okay, very good. Next up, what I'm gonna do, let me kind of place it here. Let's find a title, a super interesting one. We're gonna call this Unleash Your Travel. Does that make any sense? Let's make this bigger, 50. How about that? Look at that. Unleash. We're gonna place it kind of here. Okay, and then let's also, I'm gonna get some lorem ipsum as a subtext here. So this is kind of like our header. Maybe we can have like a subheader here with like I don't know, the location. The mountains of Tibidabo. All right, so this is much smaller. Let's do 25 or something. 25, there we go. And then we can have some text as well, like that. 18. I was traveling in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, in the mountains of Tibidabo. Fantastic. Okay, so something like that. Maybe this one's bigger. 30. Okay, cool. Fantastic. So this goes kind of here, and then we'll have a nice, pretty big image here or something like that. Let me pull up the big, nice image. There we go. All right, so kind of like that. Okay, pretty cool. Maybe space these out a little bit. Fantastic. Let me also expand this out because maybe we have another page or something. Or yeah, let's just expand this out. And here maybe, you know what? Let's also add like 2 small images here as kind of previews. So what I'm gonna do is just copy over 2 more images from that website. This is gonna make these smaller. So something like that. I'm gonna bring everything up here. Okay, like that. We're gonna place this kind of here, and then we'll do another one. Is this the same? This is the same, Ed. Don't be silly. All right, make this smaller, kind of resize it to this size. Fantastic, just like that. Okay, maybe take these two, make them even smaller. So and here maybe I can add like a arrow or something that's gonna say learn more or whatever. That's not the way to do this. Why you do this? And we have a special arrow here somewhere. Here we go, arrow. Fantastic. So maybe a little arrow that's gonna be thick, like 10. Okay. All right, so something like that, right? Click to next or whatever. Maybe smaller. Let's make this smaller. Oh wait, this just makes it thicker. How do I make it smaller? They never taught me how to make it smaller. Anyway, we're gonna leave it like that. So next up, let's maybe do a detailed page here. So let me see what I named this one because I forgot. So let's say here we're gonna say mountains or something. The mountains, or just mountains. Just make this big again, like 60 or something, right? So maybe the second page looks something like this. And I wrote some text down here, so let me just see what I wrote. Visit any place that you can imagine. Wow. Okay, just like that. Make this smaller. Grab everything here. Oops, make it 40. Okay. Good. 40. There we go. All right, and then maybe we can have more interesting text like that. So maybe 1, 2, and then maybe we can duplicate this again. Maybe we have another section or something like that. Okay, so something like that. And then let's just take another image here and whoosh it up. Actually, let's kind of make it wide like that. Okay, so maybe kind of this is a style that we can pick. Okay, you might adjust like the text a bit and do kind of minimal adjustments, but there's already so much wrong with this design in the sense that it doesn't have any rhyme or reason, it doesn't have any flow, it doesn't make any sense kind of visually. It doesn't really make any sense. It's very hard to read if we take a look at this text here. So that's what we're going to cover in just a bit. So one of the big issues that we had in this design is the sizes of our fonts. Our sizes are totally random. We just pick things that we think look nice. So this is 50 pixels. This one is 30 pixels. This is 18 pixels, okay? So it doesn't really make any sense. They're kind of picked randomly. And I think this one's 50, but this one is 60, okay? So it doesn't have any kind of continuity. Is that a word? That's a word. We invented a new word, people. Okay, so what kind of a general rule of thumb that I like to do when I pick headers and font text and things like that is, well, let's just do it. Let's just grab this small text here. Okay, so I'm gonna drag it kind of here. So there are multiple ways that you can scale up fonts. But a super easy way is to just pick a font size for your paragraph text that's super easy to read. Okay, so in this case, probably the lowest that you can go to read online, so on a screen, is 16. Okay, and the way I like to do it is I like my font to be divisible by 8. That's going to keep everything super simple. So I either have 16 here as my paragraph, or I go up to 24, okay, as my paragraph. Now that can be kind of too big, so I'm going to keep it at 16, okay? Now, if I want a subheader, so let me just create a title here or something. Maybe this is the title of a blog post. So call this my travel experience. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the paragraph and the same font size and just double it. So I'm gonna say times 2, which is gonna give me 32. And just like that. And now if I wanna have a bigger one, I just times this by 2 again. Okay, so this way my fonts have some kind of rhyme and reason. They're not just picked randomly, they make sense. Okay, so that's gonna be much more appealing. So this, let me just align them as well here. Like that. Why is this not aligning? Why you do this to me? Anyway, this makes much more sense than this right here. Okay, so that's a good start. And again, if you want something bigger, maybe a super main header or whatever, or maybe just something fancy that you want to show off, you can go huge like that. So maybe the page size or something, 01. Okay. Okay, so that's the first rule I like to apply to my designs, is to scale up my font size in an equal manner. Okay, so we're gonna keep this 01 around. Maybe we can figure something out with it. That's perfectly fine. The other thing that we need to consider is the spacing. All right, and not only the spacing between the paragraph and the headers that we make, but also the spacing here. All right, so the line height of each text. Okay, so we want that to be just as consistent as the font size. All right, so what I like to do is go here to frame 1. I'm going to call this good. Just go on the frame that you have, click on it, and then here you have layout grid. I like to click on that. All right, it's going to make a grid here. I'm going to change the color to something else like a blue. Okay, and then increase this so it's very easy to see. Okay, perfect. Where's my text? It's gone. It's gone. There it is. Okay, so what I like to do here is just scroll all the way in. And what I like to do is align the text here, the paragraph text, where that line is. Okay, so I want to line it up just like that. Okay, so it touches the grid right there. And as you can see, everything matches up here. Now, if we take a look at the second one, so if we go down here, well, this does not line up anymore. So that's an issue. So what I'm going to do is increase the line height here until it matches my grid. So what I'm going to do is go here. Oh, where is it? I forgot. Here, at the right here, okay? Line height. And I can increase this until it touches it, just like that. Now, maybe you want more space. That's perfectly fine. You can increase it, but make sure you are on the grid. So I can increase this like that, and then just bring this up. Still doesn't touch it. Let's do more. A little bit more. Okay, so something like that. Let's see. And there we go. Look at that. It aligns perfectly on the grid. And that's very cool. Or actually, what you can do is just align it to 1, and then you can just multiply this if you want to. But anyway, find the amount of space that you like and keep it like that. So here we have 2 spaces. And by the way, each space here, each box represents 10 pixels. So basically, I know that the line height here is 20 pixels between each text here, okay? So if I want something like 10, then let me see, can I type pixels here? I think you can only do percentages, unfortunately. So anyway, just to let you know. Okay, so there we go. Let's turn off the grid here for a second. There we go. So as you can see, this is much more spaced out. It makes sense. It aligns on that fictional grid that we just made, and it looks much easier and more readable compared to this right here. Okay, another thing to consider is never, ever, ever, once you have a lot of text here, if you have more than a few lines of text, never, ever align it this way. Okay, never, ever do text align in the center. And the reason why we don't do that is because it's very difficult to read. And what I mean by that is that our eyes are very used to starting, like if I start reading from here, from the lorem, right? And I go at the end, so I go and read all the way here, my eye will naturally kind of fall back here again, like where I started from, right? So if you read, you go back from where you started from. You read, you go back from where you started from. However, the position keeps changing here, right? So I go at the end, oh, I need to go back even a bit further with my eyes. So it's a small thing, but it makes it a bit harder for you to read it. Okay, so if you align everything on the left, it's very easy for subconsciously for your eyes to jump back to that same initial position. Okay, so make sure you align things like that and not like this. This is fine if you have maybe a small amount of text. So you can imagine maybe we have Unleash Your Travel and we have a super simple subtitle here, like this. Okay, so if you have something like this, even maybe 2 lines, it's perfectly fine. So something like this is not bad, okay? However, if you have a lot of text, then it's hard to read. Moving on, okay. So now that we have this, now we can apply the same line height. So maybe you have a subheader here with more text. You can apply the same logic here as well. So go here, open up your grid. Let's open up the grid and make sure this is also on the line. So click here, okay, like that. And let's also make sure this has, let's do, I don't know, like 3 spaces or something. So I'm gonna go here and just expand this until I am happy with the spacing. Okay, it's still up a bit, so let me move this. Okay, there we go. All right, so there we go. So I pick a line height here as well, and I can do this to the larger and the larger one as well, and we can keep everything consistent. Now, what we also need to determine is how much space I want between, let me turn this off for a bit, how much space do I want between the paragraph, between the heading and maybe the large heading. Okay, maybe I don't want these to be stuck so closely together, so maybe I want more space here. Okay, so you can determine for each of these a specific padding, I should say. Okay, so maybe here I want to have, let's turn the grid back on. I want to have 30 pixels or something like that. So let's turn this on. So when I have a text here, I always want to make sure I have 30 pixels of height on it. So I'm just going to bring this right there. Okay, 30 pixels right there. Perfect. And maybe for this one, I want double. So again, we can use the ×2. So for spacing as well. So if I have 30 here, the bigger one needs 60, the bigger one needs 120, even though this is quite big already, so you probably don't need a bigger one, but anyway. So let's just do 1, 2, 3 here. So 30 pixels, 40, 50, 60, something like that, okay? So let me just bring it on that line. And what I also want to do, besides the spacing here, whoops, let's turn this off. Okay, so now we have messed around with the spacing too. Let me get rid of that. Now I kind of modify this whole thing, so I need to fix it. And this is not correct. How do you write experience? Experience? I was never taught in school, unfortunately. Let's turn back the grid. Okay, so I want 30 here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And here I want 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that not 6? I cannot count. Anyway, you get the point. Okay, so there we go. Let's turn this off. And make sure you also align things nicely here on the left side. Okay, so you want to make sure that these are correctly, the space is correct right here. So what we can do is just take this and bring this in a bit. Take this and bring this in so they all touch the same line. Okay, and this one as well, it touches, so it's perfect. Okay, so those are the way I pick my fonts and how I usually come up with a structure on adding them on the page. So now that we determined the spacing and how we pick font sizes, now we're gonna head into different fonts that we can use. And there's 3 main ones. One is called Sans, one is called sans serif, and one's called Display. So these 3 are the most popular ones. You also have handwriting and other stuff like that, but those are not that more important. So let's focus on these 3 and understand them and how to use them and where to use them. Okay, so starting off with what's the difference between sans and sans serif? Well, if you search up sans versus sans serif, you're gonna find out that they have certain characteristics. So basically, sans here, the font sans, has these kind of tails at the end of each letter. Okay, so the T, as you can see, they kind of have pointy things here, down here. Okay, if we search here, as you can see, the A kind of has those squiggly, pointy lines here, and here, whereas sans serif kind of has these smooth corners or just flat, straight lines. Okay, so everything is smoother and cleaner. Okay, so which one should we use? Well, it depends. Serif was mainly used in like newspapers or books, old books. What else? Let me think. Like classic, just think classic style. Okay, newspapers, books, and stuff like that. Whereas sans serif, you're gonna see that more on the web. All right, so digital stuff. Now you're gonna find logos that do use serif as well. And you can do that if you are going for a classic look or you're going for an elegant look, all right? Or like a very professional, elegant look, like a bank or something. Maybe pick serif. Other than that, if you don't know what to do, I would just go sans serif on everything, okay? So if you want to keep it simple, use sans serif. So here we go. Here we have an example here with companies that use serif. So Time, we have Vogue, Tiffany and Co. or CO, whatever you want to say it. JP Morgan, which is a bank, right? We have Sony, we have Honda, and we can also see sans serif logos. Let's see. What do we have? All right, so Airbnb is a good example, right? We have Uber, Spotify, Pinterest. So you're going to find a lot of these tech companies, online digital stuff, they have sans serif most of the time. Okay, so just go for sans serif. And lastly, we have display. All right, and this is kind of like a very stylized font, which can be either like a handwriting or something like this, right? Or something crazy looking like this, or maybe like a pixel font, okay, like this, look at that. So extremely stylized fonts that only apply for certain things. You can imagine maybe a logo can use a display font if you want to. Now, don't get me wrong, you can use a simple sans serif font for your logo, and that's going to be perfectly fine. A lot of big companies do that. But I guess I should just leave it at that these are extremely stylized fonts. And they work like, maybe, let me show you something like Halloween or something like that, right? This has a certain feel to it, this font, right? So as you can see here, it looks kind of spooky and scary. All right, so this is a highly stylized display font, whereas you don't want to add Comic Sans on here because that's going to look silly, ridiculous, or childish. So always have the mentality of, what is my website? What kind of feeling does my website want to invoke? All right, and based on that, you can pick a font. If I have like a super elegant website, maybe a broker, so maybe I'm a broker, Wolf of Wall Street representing here, and I'm trading stocks, Tesla stocks, and I want to have a professional, serious feel to it. I'm going to pick like a fancy serif font, all right? If I want to create maybe the thing that we're creating right now, which is kind of a very calming looking website, I'm going to go with a sans serif and choose a font that's like, that looks calm. It looks kind of curvy. This sounds so weird, but kind of curvy and easy to read and relaxing to look at, okay? I don't want to add this Halloween font right here because that's just going to look weird. Can we do that? Let's do that. Let's see. Can we find something spooky looking? There's no spooky looking. There should be. There we go, Creepster. All right, so let's go here and change it to Creepster. All right, that's, I mean, that's not too good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is go here and just pick out that font. So literally go on Google Fonts, go here. I'm just gonna click sans serif. That's all I'm gonna need. And just go through these and just see which one you think is gonna fit. Sometimes you're gonna find one, sometimes you're not gonna find one. So I'm gonna go over these and just kind of get a feeling of how it looks on my design. Okay, so I think I found one that I like. I think I'm gonna go with quicksand. So what I'm gonna do is literally just go through all of these and turn them into quicksand. Quicksand, quicksand. Okay, and there we go. And that's all we need to do. Now, stay with one font. All right, if you start messing around with multiple fonts, your design can fall apart very, very quickly. So as a general rule of thumb, use only one font. Don't mix and match, because it's very hard to find a couple of fonts. Actually, I wouldn't even use more than 2 fonts in a whole design. Okay, but even if you find another one, you're gonna have to find one that complements each other very well. So I think using only one can get you so far, and you are more than good. So just stick to one. That's another tip that I'm gonna tell you. And rather than maybe taking this and changing it to another font to put emphasis on it, use weight. Weight is your friend, okay? With weight, you can put emphasis on a title or anything that you want. So what I'm gonna do here is just drag this down. We're gonna reposition this in just a bit. I'm gonna do it after to the grid. But what I'm gonna do is just go here and change this to medium, like that. Okay, and if I want this to put even more emphasis on this one, I can change this to bold, all right, to get an extra large text. Okay, and there we go. So use weight to give emphasis to certain titles and subheaders. And what I can do here as well, even in the text, I can highlight and change the font weight to bold, like that, or medium, to put emphasis on a specific character in here. Okay, I'm gonna go with bold here, and maybe here I can grab this one and also put emphasis on this one, just like that. Another important thing to consider is having equal spacing everywhere. Okay, so right here, we don't really take care of the space, all right? So nothing here is spaced correctly, but even down here, like this content flows a bit more to the left. Here, it's kind of more in the center. And here we kind of just drop the text in a weird position. So what I want to do is just have a grid where I have a nice set of empty white space where I know that there is going to be basically no content. All right, so white space is basically the space between the content. All right, so this is some space here, and we also have a bit of space here and here. There needs to be a healthy amount of space. Again, this is kind of, I guess, subjective, I should say, but there needs to be a healthy amount of space for all your content to be easily readable. That's the same reason why we give space between text, because if we have everything jumbled up like this, it's going to be extremely hard to read. But if they're spaced out a bit, like here, right, it's very easy to read this. Okay, same thing applies to the whole page. So just the page needs to have space in between. Like this whole section needs to have a bit of space with this. Okay, so the easiest way you can do that is just, again, go here to the grid. I'm going to hit a plus. I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to change this to 12, I like to do. I'm going to change the color to like a bluish. And I'm going to change this from grid to columns. Let me do 12 again here, right? Just like that. So again, you can determine kind of the amount of space that you like. In this case, I'm just going to do 12 here. So these pixels are basically, I believe, 20. I'm not even sure how long they are. I think they're automatically calculated based on the size of this page. But anyway, you can do a fixed size if you want in that grid. I'm just going to leave it by default just to illustrate that. But let's say I want this first whole column only to be white space. Okay, so just empty space for the content. So what I can do is literally just take the content of my page and start it from the second column. And this is going to apply to everything. So from the pictures here, from the logo that I have, which I'm going to drag here. So everything is going to start from here. I don't want anything to touch this white space. Sometimes you can break that rule. There are certain situations where you can do that, and you're gonna see like fancy websites do that, where they have maybe like a number that we have here. So let me just drag this. Maybe you can have like a number here. I'm gonna make this super huge, like 300, right? That kind of just sits there, kind of floats in space. All right. So there can be stylistic reasons why you can break it, and it can look good. However, you don't want to do this for basically everything on your page, okay? Because then it's gonna look something like this. And we don't want that. So let's just get rid of it. Okay, but you can break that rule. That's all I wanna say. Or maybe you can cut it off like that a bit. Wow, so fancy we are. Anyway, okay, so I just kind of put everything on the line there. That's good. And we can do this vertically and horizontally if we prefer. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of do it by eye vertically now. I'm gonna turn this off. Okay, so there we go. That's the difference. I'm gonna move this up a bit more. I'm just gonna grab everything here and actually just group it up. Call this main title, like that. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this. I'm just gonna move it down here. Next up, let's bring this image in right here. All right, I'm gonna kind of position it here in the center like that. Let's bring everything up a bit. Now I can just plop. Oh, what I also want to make sure is this kind of has the white space as well. So I'm going to go back here, turn this grid on, and look at that. I am not there. So let me just drag this right there. Okay. So now I have the white space. Okay. The problem though is I don't have the white space between the content now. So if I turn this off, this is kind of tight here, all right? So the text and everything to this image. So for now, what I'm gonna do is just kind of bring this in a bit like that, all right? Just give a bit more space here for this to breathe. And that's good, fantastic. Now, we can leave it like this if we want. I like to personalize this a bit more. So what I'm gonna do actually is take this image, and I'm just gonna add a little curve to it. So I'm gonna choose something like, let's do 30, okay? Something like that. Maybe I'm gonna expand this and make it taller, like that. I'm gonna bring it down the middle. Whoops, let's make this taller. Maybe I can expand this a bit out for fun, like that, okay? Maybe a bit down, just like that. Okay, I can kind of mess around with this, but that's perfectly fine. Okay, so just kind of added a curvature to it. The reason why I did it is I think it looks better just because the design flows. I kind of wanted everything to be curvy from the font to the image, so I kind of want to match everything. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do now is do these two images down here. So again, what I'm going to do is just copy these over right here and bring them down here. Okay, let's do it here. And again, here we can kind of add a specific amount of spacing to these as well. So here we picked 30, here we picked 60, so I can pick 60 here as well. So I'm gonna go back here to the layout grid. I'm gonna turn this on, not this one, the second one. And let's see here. Well, this wasn't on the grid, so let me just put it so it's easy for me. Oh, actually everything is grouped up here. So let me bring it up like that so it matches. And this one up. I think they were moved for some reason. Yeah, they were all moved a bit, but it's okay, we can fix it super fast. So I can leave 6 spaces here as well. So from the baseline, so from here from the text, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when it comes to design or development, this is very easy. This is just you adding a bunch of padding, basically. Just add a padding of 60. Okay, so let me bring these up. Do I have 6 there? I'm not even sure. I think I do. It's okay. Whatever. I'm not going to sit here and calculate the pixels, but you get the point. Okay, so equal space everywhere. Super nice. Okay, so now this kind of looks weird because we have the curving here, but we don't have the curving here. So I want to make sure I apply the same things to my design. So again, keep it consistent. So I'm going to go here, add 30 here, 30, and 30 here. Just like that. Fantastic. Okay, I can take this whole shebang. I'm just going to move it down until I hit the center here of this image. Okay, perfect. Now, maybe I want to give more space here. That's perfectly fine. We can do that. Okay, just like that. Okay, I'm going to keep it simple like that. Shall we add the arrow? Maybe we can do an arrow, but I really don't want this arrow to be so big. Can I make it? I don't know. Help. Send help. I don't know how to make the arrow smaller. Wait, hold up. We're gonna figure this out. Arrow, drag. Actually, what I'm gonna end up doing, I think I'm gonna make these a bit like, I'm gonna stretch these out a bit more like that, just to fill up a bit more space. I don't want these to be, I don't want like the whole section here with the text to be small, but this one is extremely large. So I'm just gonna drag these out a bit and then just move everything up again like that, okay? Again, I don't want that much empty white space going on here. Okay, so there we go. You know what? I want that arrow. I'm gonna make it manually. Screw this. So I'm just gonna go here and add 2 lines. So let's go here, line, and just drag down like that. And make this thick, like 3. Okay, and then take this and kind of rotate it to 45 degrees. Bring it up like that. Perfect. I'm going to take this one and just kind of go here and make the cap to round. All right, that's going to make it again smooth because that's where we're going with this design. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one, cap round. I'm going to bring it closer together, up, just like that. I'm going to take these two, I'm going to increase this to 8. Lastly, what I want to say here before I close it off and we finish up the next section is that we can also, we can use size, we can use font weight to determine the importance of a text, but never ever forget that you can also use contrast. So in our case, we are using pure black, and I would never really recommend you to do pure black. I mean, you can for like a very, very intense text. Maybe I want to put a ton of emphasis on this title here, so we can keep that. But otherwise, I'm going to lower the contrast. So I'm going to grab maybe this text right here, and I'm just going to bring it up to like a light grayish color like that. Okay, there we go. So this is less important. So I'm going to make this a bit grayish as well, but not as grayish. Just like that. And there we go. Maybe we can have the most importance on this one. All right, but even this, I'm just going to bring it up slightly a bit so it's not pure black. Okay, so there we go. We added color. I mean, not really color, but contrast. We added weight and size. Fantastic. Okay, now on the logo, since we don't have a logo already made, I guess we could add another font to change this up and make it a bit more interesting. So let's pick a display font for fun. So let's head here, go all the way up, go here and just go to display. Let's choose one. I like lobster, so we're gonna go with that one. Let's go here, grab everything, change this to lobster, and there we go. That's it. Pick a, for some reason this doesn't let me pick the font weight, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. And let's also change the size of it. So I'm gonna, what's my normal text size is 16. My apologies, like that. I guess we can make this bigger. So like 32, like that. Okay. And for fun, just to kind of differentiate this from everything else, what I'm gonna do is just add a color to this. So let's go here. I'm just gonna go here to my design, maybe pick that color, okay? Or make this kind of a pinkish or whatever. I'm not sure. I have no idea. Okay, something like that. There we go. And you might have additional things here. Maybe this is a nav bar or something. Let me just move this up a bit. Okay, just to add a bit of style to it. Okay, and take a look. There we go. We have everything made. I just applied everything that we did here down here. I did a bit of change to everything here with the text. I thought that the light font was a bit too hard to read. So I just changed this to bold, medium. All right, and I changed this text to bold. And I just picked the gray color for this. And here I just picked the header 2, so the secondary header color, to give a bit more emphasis on certain words in the paragraph. But I found that this is a bit easier to read. What I also did was I added a bit of curvature to this frame just to kind of go with the whole flow. All right, and here I just added everything basically the same way. All right, just the title here with the subheader and some text. And again, here I just made sure I have equal amounts of space, because if these are together, again, it's a bit harder to read. So make sure you kind of separate paragraphs. And I just added a little button here just for fun. Again, we kind of focused only on fonts here and not really adding color and playing with color that much. But I thought this was going to be a fun little project for us to do. Again, if you want to see a tutorial about learning about color, complementary color, and all that good jazz, let me know and I'll make a video on it if you want to improve your design skills. Okay, so again, from here on, maybe, I don't know, you can be creative. Maybe you have a section here, so this section on the page, maybe you don't want to have it like this. Maybe you want to expand out the image like this, right? So maybe you want to have kind of a fuller screen view like this, right? Maybe not that big, but kind of like where the logo is. Okay, so something like expanded like this, and maybe you can have icons in here to kind of switch between these images or something. I don't know, feel free to experiment and come up with fun stuff. I'm gonna go back here. But again, it's small little changes. You might not think this is a big deal, but it's small little changes that make this much, much nicer. So if we do a quick comparison here, you just get to see how much easier this is to read right here. The spacing is much nicer between each section, between the text. Everything just looks organized and a bit more professionally made. Whew, so that's going to be it. Hope you enjoyed this little episode. We just made the whole course here on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed this. And subscriberino down below for more funsies. And that's going to be it for me. Buy the courses down below if you want to learn more about programming. Okay, goodbye.